of someone burying their face in their knees in a dark corner, trembling and crying alone. We all have something that we're afraid of. When you're about to go on stage and perform, or when you have an interview, or simply when a teacher asks you, "Can I talk to you?" A lot of things we fear are really just ideas and thoughts in our heads. Fear and I are really good friends. Being afraid is a big part of who I am, but it is also the thing that has made me grow the most. I was 5 years old when I first sat on a horse. I loved everything about horseback riding. The relationship I got to form with the horses, the community at the barn with other riders, as well as the sense of freedom riding gives me. But it is not always a happy party. Every time you choose to sit on a horse, you're putting your life into an animal with a mind of its own, and that is outright frightening. When I arrived at Oldfields as a freshman, I rode a horse named Taz. It was the first time I sat on a horse in a while. Coming from the city, there wasn't anywhere to ride, so I stopped for 3 years. Getting back in the saddle felt new and a bit scary. When I was asked to pick up the canter, that's when I got nervous. Why? Well, he was new to me. I didn't know anything about him, and on top of that, I hadn't ridden in 3 years. Now, this all seems very silly to me now, but at that point, I was terrified. When I actually faced my fear and picked up the canter, I had a sense of relief. It was a very comforting feeling. I had pushed myself to do something that I was unsure about. At this moment, I had no idea how this feeling would stick with me and impact me in my future. Skip forward to sophomore year. I tried a new horse named Robin. He was the biggest horse I'd ever sat on. Now, that in itself is scary enough. But that same day that I rode him for the first time, I jumped him. A few weeks later, a woman named Sally Cousins came to our school to teach us important lessons about riding horses and how to become better equestrians. This was my chance to show my riding skills with Robin, but I had this feeling in my gut that I was not prepared enough for this clinic. I had just started riding this horse, and he was already very challenging. He was much stronger than I was, but I decided to take on the challenge anyway. A little time had passed, and we had just started the jumping portion of the exercise. Another one of my classmates went through the exercise and did it perfectly. I went after her, and it went well, which gave me more confidence than I initially had before. The second time, however, it didn't go so smoothly. As I was making the turn to approach the jump, Robin started picking up speed. That's when I felt my fear come back. As we went over the jump, Robin and I were no longer in sync. It was as if I were an unsteady child on a rocking horse. I didn't even make it over the second jump when he got spooked and threw his head down, pulling me with him. As I was falling, I felt like I was trapped in a crashing wave, shocked and disoriented. Now, I wasn't the strongest rider back then, and so I felt like one of those little dogs jumping on the mini ponies, holding on for dear life. I was hoping we would be good friends, but I knew we weren't headed in that direction. Long story short, he was not the right match for me at that time. I took a step back that same year and started riding another horse named Albie. He was just what I needed. The first time I rode Albie, I picked up the trot, and right away I noticed he had a faster trot than I was used to, causing the fear to creep in. One time, Albie and I were at a horse show. It was cold, rainy, my class got pushed back, and my parents came for an hour and then left. This was my first show with Albie, and I didn't know how he was during shows. He seemed to be perky and aware of his surroundings. I was afraid that I wasn't going to do well in my class because we'd never been to a show together. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to control his speed. He was a lot faster than the other horses I've ridden prior to him, and I didn't know how he was during shows. To calm both of our nerves, we walked around the arena to get a sense of our space that we were going to be performing in. It was just Albie and me, a team taking in the arena before our first round. After being so nervous about how I was going to perform, I ended up getting reserve champion. I gained confidence, and as each lesson went on, I got more and more comfortable with him. He taught me a lot about taking control of a horse. Coming into my junior year, I was told which horse I was going to ride, and was a little hesitant about it. Our previous relationship didn't start off well, but I was I was not going to give up so easily this time. I had some new tools I uncovered while riding Albie, and even if it didn't do much, it would give me a little leverage to figuring this big, scary horse out. I knew I should make this the year to face my biggest fear and be patient with the process. What better way to start overcoming the fear than to lease Robin? The first month was rough, but I felt a little bit of progress, and that's all I needed to feel to become more confident than before. I still knew there was a lot of work ahead of me, and there were definitely some harder days, but we always overcame the hurdle. The biggest leap with my confidence was the Daniel Stewart Clinic. It was a 2-day clinic, and it was not only physically challenging, but very mentally challenging as well. We made up courses for each other to memorize on the spot, and the terminology we were told to use was not easy either. There was this one exercise that he challenged us with, where we had to start cantering and we only knew the first jump and nothing else. And then he would yell out the next instructions. The first day was the hardest. I was on Robin, who I wasn't totally comfortable with yet, and had been given an exercise that was very new to me. On the second day of the clinic, we both understood the goal of the exercise. The goal was to strengthen our memory of course and to be calm with the unknown hurdles that presented themselves within a course. Each month after this clinic, I had used the tools that I gained with Robin. He was my best friend. Horses taught me to push myself beyond my comfort zone and to embrace challenges. Fear is a messenger for change. Everything that has challenged me has taught me that fear is what makes you grow while creating interesting stories. All these moments helped me expand my limits, and I will forever use these experiences on and off horses to push myself and never give up. Marvin Phillips said, "The difference between try and triumph is just a little ump." I am proud to say I am on a Pingree and I'm a 4-year senior.